You have two little voices inside your head. There is no way to get rid of either of them. And one of them is your cheerleader, and it says, "You did it, you're amazing, you got this, you are so great. Do you see how you did that? That's because you're awesome." There is that voice inside everybody's head. And then there's this other voice inside of everybody's head that tells you about all of the negative things about you. Whichever voice you feed is the one, well, that's strongest. If you feed or listen to or, pay attention to the happy, good voice, the one that tells you all the positive things that you're doing, then it tends to be a little bit stronger. And when you listen and pay attention to the negative voice that's reminding you of all of the dumb things that you do, when you listen to that voice, it gets stronger. But you have these two little voices inside your head. And sometimes this little negative voice that you have in your head becomes so strong that it just overpowers anything that the other one would be saying. And when that happens, it's anxiety producing. It is debilitating. It can become so strong that it stops you from being able to function as a person and stops you from being able to do things that you want to be able to do and that you would like to do and that you're capable of doing, and that really shouldn't be a big deal. Hey friend, I'm Amy on A Lolly Life, and I'm so glad you stopped by to visit. You're like the corner piece of a jigsaw puzzle. Without you, life would be way harder. You give meaning to my life. Today we're going to talk about one way that you can work through your most serious moments of anxiety, the anxiety attack level of anxiety. When I was a kid, I would climb trees and I had no problem. And I would climb way up in the trees and like to the terrible, scary branches, the ones where your mom looks at you and is like, "Get back down here this very instant because that is not safe." I would do that. I climbed up to those branches and I didn't have a problem with it. It was just no big deal. At some point, I suddenly became afraid of heights. There wasn't anything particular that like spurred on this fear of heights. I don't even remember exactly when it started. I just started to realize I'm afraid of heights. Huh. I don't actually like that. But you don't always get to choose what you're afraid of and what you're not afraid of. But I did feel like this is not something that's going to hold me back. I am not going to let my fear of heights stop me from doing things that I want to do or taking advantage of opportunities. And so I had this mindset. I'm like, I'm going to be able to do this. When I needed to paint the family room and it had this great big vaulted ceiling and I needed a 2-story ladder to like climb up and like paint, I did that. I climbed up the ladder, I painted up there. It was a sight to behold. But I did it. I managed to get that whole room painted despite the fact that I was afraid of heights, and that was really a scary thing. And I was really proud of myself, and I just thought, see, I told you, I can do this. I am able to conquer my fears. I am just a superior being. Yeah, except for until I wasn't a superior being. As it happened, we had this influx of, I think they're elder bugs. We had this great big swarm of them come through our area, and they like the warm siding of the house. And so we had thousands upon thousands of these bugs on the siding of our house where the sun was shining down. And I was concerned about them, like maybe crawling back behind the siding and making nests, or I didn't know, but like it just did not seem like a healthy thing to have thousands and thousands of bugs on the side of your house. And so I decided that what I needed to do is I needed to like spray them off with the hose and just send them on their merry way. And I knew that within a couple of days, it would probably be all fine, right? I get the hose and I start spraying off the house, and I didn't have like a little nozzle to like spray better. I just thought, well, that's okay. I have my thumb. So you know how you like put your little thumb over the end of the hose and it like sprays it up there? I thought, well, I'm pretty good at that. I can just do it that way. So I start spraying off the house, and I get the bottom part of the house sprayed off, and I realize that the top part, there is no way for me to spray high enough to be able to get the bugs off the top part of the house. So I went and got a ladder to spray off that part of the house. And so the way that this house was designed, that it wasn't too high to climb up the ladder and get on the garage roof. The side of the house that they were on was a lot taller, but the garage roof that was right there was much lower. And so I climbed up the ladder and kind of got on the garage roof, and I started spraying off the rest of the bugs. While I was spraying off the siding, I suddenly started to realize that My ability to move was almost more than I could do, and I just was starting to hold things really close to myself, the hose and stuff. And my husband came along and he sprayed the rest of the bugs off of the house, or at least there were only maybe 100 or more on the house instead of thousands and thousands. I needed to get down off of the roof. I couldn't. I could not move. The fear and anxiety of the moment had just taken me over to the point where I could not get down off of that roof. I couldn't do anything. I was stuck. This anxiety and this fear had just taken hold of me in a way that I had never experienced before. My wonderful husband, he talked me through getting down, and it was very small steps. It was pick up your hand and put it right here. At some point, like, he kind of got through to me enough that I was able to like move one tiny little movement and move another tiny little movement. It took my husband a little bit to actually even get my attention enough to be able to start working my way down that ladder, or trying to get me to work my way down that ladder. And it wasn't until I found his voice and focused on it that I was actually able to move and do something. And it was that action of finding that good voice, that voice of somebody who loves you, and focusing on it, that allowed me to be able to work through and move down that ladder. Even if you don't have a loving husband talking you down off of a roof, even if that is not part of your life, everybody has this good voice over here. Everybody has it. It may be squashed completely flat, but you can't kill it. You just can't. It's going to be there. And so if you look for it and you listen to it and you focus in on it, it can help talk you down off of some of these cliffs that we get ourselves out onto, where we can't move and we can't do anything. Believe it or not, in those moments where you are like completely in on yourself, like you are in your own world and all of this disappears because you are so far into your anxiety, that happy, good voice, that cheerleader voice that we all have, is actually easier to find than it is if you're busy and doing things. There's a good voice. It is there. Find it. Listen to it. It can help you work your way through some of those moments. If your inner positive voice seems to be flattened or MIA, missing in action, then know that you matter. I love you. You have infinite worth. Infinite is more than a gigantic amount. Infinite means that your worth goes on forever and ever and ever. You got this. I believe in you. And I'll see you next time on A Lolly Life.